We joke about the fact that Algo is the dark side of Illo a little bit. Yeah, we are always on dark mode.
Hey, it's Joel. Welcome to Season 3 of The Fabulist. This is the podcast for creative studios mastering the art of business. Powered by my friends at Coop Studios, I'm traveling the world to gather all of the insights that studio leaders need but are much too busy to grasp. From animation and motion design to experiential and live action, music and sound design, here I'm celebrating those who are not merely participating in the industry, but reinventing it. Because the future isn't just coming at us, it's being created. So let's get started. Today, we are chatting with two founders who are making Turin, Italy, a force in our industry. Together, these founders lead Illo and Algo, two studios known for blending art and data and motion into work that's as bold as it is beautiful. Joining me are Ilenia Notarangelo, CEO and creative director at Illo, and her counterpart, Luca Gonnelli, CEO and creative director at Algo. Ilenia is the heart behind Illo's unique aesthetic, while Luca is the head of design and the strategic force behind Algo's playful and inventive approach. So here's the big question we're digging into today. How do founders like Ilenia and Luca guide their business to stand out, attract clients, and adapt to an industry in constant flux, all while building a culture that keeps their team inspired and thriving? Let's get into it. Welcome to New York. It's so good to have you guys here. When was the last time you were here?
Maybe 1 year ago or something like that?
A couple of years ago,
Couple of
like
years
in
ago.
2020.
Okay.
It's like probably our 8th time in New York, so we can skip all the touristy things.
The official excuses for the grandparents to keep the kids were the fact that tonight we are going to the Young Guns party where it was a jury member. And then we also organized a couple of client meetings just to, have an extra when they ask us.
But hopefully you're sneaking in a few touristic things while you're here. We won't tell the grandparents.
Yeah, I think that we just had a walk on the High Line. That is our special walk when we come here in New York. Maybe tomorrow we're going to visit the
Gucci Museum.
Yes.
So a lot of our Instagram designer.
Is the Noguchi
bubble.
the lighting?
I think it's sculpture, but also lightning. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it's just like...
maybe Japanese design kind of, in Queens.
I need to go.
Okay.
I need to go.
Tomorrow.
So I'm going to first of all just say it's so good to see you guys. Was it earlier this year that I visited you
Yes.
in Turin?
During
Yeah.
spring times.
Which you would, of course, call Torino,
Yes.
Yes,
right?
Torino.
We Americans, for some reason, have to pronounce it differently. Forgive us. English is not your first language. I will say that. And I will, on behalf of our industry and our friends listening, thank you for speaking my language.
Yeah, bear with our little Italian accent, please.
Oh, we love it.
Exactly.
So it's good to see you guys again. Would you do me a favor and just say hello and introduce yourself? Give me your title. Ile, do you want to begin?
Okay. So, hello, my name is Ilenia Notarangelo, and I'm the founder and creative director of Illo, also partner at Algo.
Okay.
And I'm Luca Gonnelli. I'm also co-founder in both studios and CEO and creative director at Algo.
Okay. Thank you. I'm immediately thinking people are listening and they're saying, wait, they just named 2 studios.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of people, I think, in our industry do know of Illo, right?
Sure.
But I don't know that many people know you run 2 studios. So why? Why are you running 2 studios? That sounds very complicated.
It is in a way, but...
Basically, Algo was born inside of Illo. It was kind of, this little project that starts and was growing inside of the other studio. And at some point, we really felt that it needed to be a different brand. We felt that it needed to be a different team. Nowadays, since 3 years now, we are a separate company. So we created an holding company, and the 2 studios are 2 separate companies. Mm-hmm. And the team is actually different. So the Illo team is about 20 people, and the Algo team is about 10 people, but they're different people.
Yeah.
Understood.
So we always share the same founding values, the same space, the same habits. So like everything is almost the same, but we also wanted to give to each one of the studios their own opportunity, and also to being able to be financially independent and also have a defined aesthetic that maybe could be a bit different in between Illo and Algo. Of course, like we have many things in common, but also it was important also for our clients and for the market to be recognized as two separate entities.
Right. So they are distinct studios. Now, I remember when I visited your studio, which, by the way, was very cool.
Thank you.
Yes. It's so great to visit with you guys in person. And thank you for being such kind hosts.
Of course.
But I remember asking, wait, which part of the space is Illo? Which part is Algo? And I think the answer to that reveals a bit of the strategy behind why you created these distinct brands that live within one space, but there are two distinct companies. So I don't know if I can put you on the spot and say, what is Illo? What is Algo?
Okay.
What is Illo? What are you about?
Illo? I usually define Illo as a design studio focusing on motion design, or the other way around, like we are a motion studio very focused on design. In general, I think that first we started making videos, but probably our like highest level definition right now is that we are building visual languages through illustration and motion, and that like infuse optimism. So I think that like something different than maybe other studios is that what people take from Illo is optimism, positivity, playfulness. We're really focused on colors. So yeah, we're like trying to give good vibes to the design industry.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm sitting here taking notes because I'm saying, wait, that was really cool. That was really cool. But before I go down that path, Luca, can you tell us what is exactly what and why is Algo?
Yeah, we joke about the fact that Algo is the dark side of Illo a little bit. So it's kind of, we are always on dark mode. So basically, what is Algo? Algo is a data visualization studio. So data visualization is really important. We're trying to basically convey information and make things simple, which is also part of somehow the Illo values, but through a different language, which is explaining data, representing data. And also we are very focused on specializing in video automation. So basically what we are doing with our clients is building systems that later turn into a dashboard, a tool that the client can use in order to create a lot of content. You know that you speak often about this, the fact that clients these days need a lot of content and do more with less, right?
Yeah.
It's one of your topics, I think.
Yes. Ephemeralization. It's a very big, clumsy English word.
Yeah, we weren't able to pronounce it.
We want you to pronounce it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I'm curious to know, was Algo born out of an ask? Where perhaps you were working for a brand and they said, we need this identity or this system, or perhaps more likely you told them, you don't need a video, you need a system.
Exactly. Yeah, the first time we actually started thinking about this was when a big telco client of ours, which was back then the sponsor of the Serie A, of the Italian Football League, and as you know, in Italy, it's really important.
Yeah.
They had an app in which they were transmitting live the scores, the goals, and the actions, and they wanted to have a creative studio to follow during the matches, on the weekends, on Sunday nights. So our horrible kind of brief. And they just asked us, okay, you're Illo, can you do...
You're young.
You're young. Can you do videos?
Can you not sleep?
Exactly.
Right? Can you render all through the night and create all these live data?
Exactly, in real time. And of course, we said yes. So we said yes, but we said, okay, we are going to do it differently. So no weekends, no nights, but there's going to be a software that's building these and it's going to output these. And we are going to do the work, but before and creating this system that is going to follow some rules connected to the live data from the field and change and output videos that are different in function of what's happening on the field.
Yeah, as creatives, we love to solve problems the way that we've been trained, and it's the way that, we have expertise and we want to flex that muscle that's familiar, but you had to create a new muscle that, called, we have to create these visuals and somehow connect them to systems, to data, to APIs, to, I don't know. And to me, that sounds painful.
It is painful a little bit. Yeah, it's a different job compared to, making a video, rendering it, and it just works. It's beautiful. It's something, I miss that. No, but it's true that we were coming both from engineering background. Actually, Ilenia and I both studied at the end of our university career, something called cinema and new media engineering in Turin. And so, we were already doing a lot of coding, and this was already in our mindset a little bit. So we were kind of, facilitated to go down this rabbit hole.
So, Ile, what I'm hearing Luca say is Algo, even though it sounds like it's a bit more of his focus, that you were also just as much involved in the creation of this dark side.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we started a few years ago and Algo was just a seed, of course, all the projects were designed, animated, and thought by the two of us.
Yeah.
I think that when we built the website for Algo, the new branding, and being sure that the company is incorporated and makes sense, also having the team ready, we did these paths together.
Yeah.
And so it was more when the studio came to a dimension for which they were independent enough, but also big. We decided to have just the focus on one of the studios, because it's a big of mental load, of course, running, being an entrepreneur, and of course thinking about the two was
having
maybe
2 kids and running 2 studios. It was a bit too much.
So the second kid was so we should stop, and maybe we have to do a focus on each
So
other.
this year, you're not going to have a third kid and a third studio?
No.
Who knows?
Into the mix?
Let's see. But
It has been a wonderful journey, and of course, for all the important decisions, we work together. We every week we have one full morning when we work together on the 2 studios, and it's also interesting to have a partner that is not fully involved in the operations of the studio, because
an external eye.
You can really say, okay, this is good or this is not good. Why you are not asking money for that, or something like this?
You're not involved.
Why did you put this in the portfolio? Of course, being also husband and wife, we can be very direct. That is a good thing and bad thing.
Maybe sometimes a little too much.
Sometimes.
No, but
in a way, you're describing my everyday existence with the clients that I work with. Is often my job is to just come in and be very blunt and say, that's idiotic. And no, we're not going to do that. So I understand very much that role that you describe. When I was there visiting, I remember asking, how do you manage the division, right? There's a certain amount of work that has to be done. You have a common space. You have separate teams, but how do you sort of divide and conquer the workloads between the 2 companies? Do you have any secrets, any interesting innovations?
Yeah, I think that each one of the studios has its own processes. Many of them are in common. For us, it's important for both studios to work in a hybrid mode. So we have a couple of Illo days at the studio, a couple of Algo days at the studio, and some days that are open to everyone and mix. Especially the Friday is our big, let's say, studio culture day, or day where we do some most fun meetings, or the creative talks. So this is quite fun, and gather everything together. Exactly, in a sense. I don't know if all the employees would find this way. Not joking, but usually we have 2 special moments. One is called was born from the progress meeting. We usually at Illo 2 progress meeting with all the team, plenary meeting. It was boring. So we cut one and we said, okay, what will happen if we cut this progress meeting and we just did an update on Slack, and we use this time with this good hour to talk about the progress, what we would like to do in the future. Let's discuss maybe new processes for branding. Let's see new 3D tools, or let's play with AI. So it was really refreshing.
Kind of becoming a learning center for the studios.
Yeah, and it was I feel really beneficial. I think it's a big team moment, and I also think that in the long run will make the difference. And another thing that we do at Friday is a creative talk. So each one of us bring a topic with a presentation. It's a sort of TED talk, but at Illo, with pasticcini, with sweets. So it's a sort of our Sunday all together. it's important also for to allow everyone to bring their passion or maybe their doubts.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be work related. It can be anything. So it's really open, and we get to know something more about maybe another side of the person that is with us, and so it's really interesting and it's a bonding experience.
It's connected with design, but we also had maybe weird liquors from Brazil, or maybe I don't know, pottery,
beer tasting.
Is your team makeup somewhat international? Am I hearing?
Yeah, definitely. The team is. We have many people that are. They are all based in Turin. Except for one person in the Algo team who is based in France.
Okay.
But the team is quite international. We have a person from England, from Armenia, from Iran, from
Colombia, Brazil,
Colombia. Yeah, a lot.
Okay, so that feeds into this next question I was going to ask. How does your Italian heritage, right, and flavor and personality shape not just the work, but how you run your business? But what I'm also hearing is there are a lot of other influences coming into the studio.
Yeah, I think that when we started, we always positioned ourselves as an international company because simply we just put our work on the internet. We didn't have any local client when we got our degree. It was the start of the economic crisis, so probably nobody will have give us any project. But we put our work on Vimeo, and so we became automatically an international company.
Right.
And so we always had the opportunity to work on an international market. And so we wanted also our team to be international, to reflect this aspect, to understand different cultures, and also to make maybe more fun living from Turin. Of course, Turin is the fourth city in Italy, so it's not New York for sure. I mean, it's important to stay within an international community. I think that if we are doing this job. On the other hand, we feel that our Italian DNA is strong. It's strong in terms of design because, of course, we can maybe reconnect to the work of big designers of the past, I don't know, Munari or Vignelli, that are maybe we feel that we are connected and we aspire to their aesthetic. But also, I think that a core feature of our team is flexibility and the Italian adaptability. So probably Italian are a bit messy, in a way, but in a good way.
You're saying Italians are messy?
They said.
Right.
No, but for example, our team is very lean. We don't have many producers. We don't have a big structure. You get to talk with designers. We'll find a way. So I think that also clients appreciate when they work with us because we are very approachable and flexible team. So, and I think these are a bit of the Italian vibes that we are transmitting in a way.
Definitely less workaholic than US people,
right?
But sometimes it's good, sometimes not.
See, that's an interesting question because I was going to, first of all, I want to talk about aperitivo. And number two is those cultural differences, because I'm guessing you work with many clients in the States. Is that correct? Right? And I would think, I'm going to make an assumption, the budgets from the States are great.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
When I think of compared to Italian budgets and Spanish budgets and French budgets, right? Okay. We got that out there. But you also have to deal with the culture of, right, where there's Americans that might expect, well, of course you work 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Of course, these types of things. Is there ever...
I think it's not really about the hours because also you do 9 to 5.
Okay.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm, maybe.
It's more maybe, I think that the main difference between our Italian mindset is that we really appreciate our quality of life. So this is on the first
top of the
step
list.
of the podium.
Top of the list.
Well, maybe sometimes in America, maybe you can find more studios that are more business oriented. So sometimes people ask us, what do you like to do when you grow up? And we said, okay, but we are adults. We are enjoying our life. We are enjoying running a small studio, a boutique studio, but being independent and
being completely fine it being a lifestyle business and not willing to scale it and not willing to turn that into something different. And
Now, what I think is interesting, because I'm hearing the full studio team size is 15, 17, something.
A bit more, 20 Illo and 10 Algo. So 30 people in total.
Okay, which is actually a pretty good sized studio, right? Mine was 25, 26 people. And
a lot.
That was a business, man. That was a lot. So I don't want anyone listening to think, oh, how quaint. It's just the two of you and a freelancer now and then. It's a full-blown as we would call concern.
With a full staff, employees, and of course, like we work with freelancers, but it's just like because sometimes you have some studios that you have like all the producer and the founders and the business people, and then you have like a big network of freelancers. While we are really
we tend to not do that too much.
Exactly.
To
just
have,
occasional.
Occasional freelancers, the ones that we know, the ones that we trust a lot. But really, we want to work with our creative team and kind of let them do the most interesting projects and grow within our team creatively. So it's really about that.
So when we talk about quality of life, if I remember correctly, when I was visiting you, you said every day at a certain time, aperitivo, and everyone must stop working, so my translation was, if you work during this time, you suck. Because the Italians, right, they have this moment when they pause and they say, we're going to enjoy life. Am I remembering it correctly?
Maybe not every day.
No, not every day, but
sure. Yeah, it's something that sometimes happens. We organize little things. We organize maybe watch parties when there's a conference happening. Yeah, there's always this aspect of, we are all together. And also, we actually started Illo in a way to try to find the balance and to try to get away from the world of advertising agencies where we were little interns before, me and Ile.
Okay,
hamsters.
yes.
Exactly, little hamsters running on the wheel. And we just said, okay, no, this cannot work. And we were seeing how the disorganization and the lack of any type of structure was really causing most of the pains and most of the issues there. And so we said, okay, maybe things can be done in a different way. Maybe you can be organized. You can be a bit both creative side of the mind and also organized side of the mind and build something that actually can allow you to work until 5:45 p.m. and that's it.
So the idea is like we're not getting aperitivo together every night, but like we work until 5:45 and of course, like sometimes we need to do extra hours, but it's rare. So after 5:45, you are free to organize your own aperitivo. Like everyone needs an aperitivo or connect with their kids or do sports. So it's really important like to remove that layer of you are working in the design industry. So this is your passion. So you can do the nights. It's not like that. We're very conscious about time. We start at 9:15 and we finish at 5:45. And of course, maybe sometimes other creatives will prefer to have maybe more flexibility, but we feel that the quality of life that we can get by having good hours, and also we put this on our contract. In our quote, we say a couple of things. We say that we don't work during weekends. If it's like super well paid, maybe we can evaluate this.
Incredibly needed. Of course, we're always happy to, but it's kind of, there's exceptions. The starting point.
But otherwise, we say to our clients that like our regular working day stops at 5:45, that we pay each one of the extra hours of each single.
Right. So for someone who doesn't know what aperitivo is, because I love this, like, to me, this is one of my favorite things.
Sorry if we take it for granted.
No, well, we're talking about it, so we're not taking it for granted. But what is this moment? Because we need to share this with the world so more people will join us.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So after you finish working and you had like, whether it's a nice or a bad day, whatever, you just disconnect, you just get to the local bar, you take a spritz and maybe you eat something on the side. So it's always something where you can both drink and eat and just enjoy a sunset or enjoy the finishing part of your day before dinner. It's something that can become the dinner or can be on like plus dinner.
Right.
But it's just a way to enjoy the end of the day, end of the working day actually.
For us, it's like really the standard to, of course, like we have to evaluate if we really need to stay there. But of course, like also in our chapter of our life with kids, it's not like possible.
Right.
But so it's really important to we take work in a pretty serious way. But also
take
our
fun
lives
in a pretty serious way.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that. We take fun seriously.
Absolutely.
So one thing I heard you mention about in your history, you were both interns or something at agencies. So does that factor now into, do you find you're a better fit working with brands directly, or do you also work a lot with agencies?
We work a little bit with agency, but it's really small. Yeah. I think that working directly with brands is really something that has a lot of positive consequences. I've heard you talking with our friend Justin Cohn about this topic. Justin, the episode that you posted yesterday.
Yes, where we talked about working brand direct and how important it is.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. It's really important. It's really a way to also, make more interesting work. And I'm not, against agencies. We work sometimes with agencies, but it's really...
Yeah, mostly it's direct clients, so generally like directly with brands.
So how does a small studio in Torino make inroads, break through to these big mysterious things called brands?
Most of the time, brands are finding us. Yeah, it's a really long and...
Still pretty magic.
Still pretty magic process. I think most of the time it's maybe some art director working there into their internal department that maybe has a mood board in which they put one of our pieces. And so, they just get to contact all the studios that basically they got into the mood board, something like that. So we don't really know how, but since a few years we've been starting to get, and I think that it's a very long and tedious investment into our portfolio, into posting everything that we do as much as possible, into fighting with clients over the ability to post in portfolio, which is also another point in our contracts that we like to... Of course, it's not always possible. Of course, there will be always the brands that don't allow this. There will be always the NDAs. But trying to get that possibility open and being active. We are very active on all social platforms. We're basically posting a lot of... We are working on our portfolio a lot. You want to add something?
Yeah, portfolio is a very big asset. So like this Monday, I met a client here in New York, like quite important client, and he told me, okay, but maybe we met at Blend 2017, and it was, oh my God, okay, so you still remember me from that day? So I think that seeding your portfolio in design conferences, Instagram, Behance, like any opportunity is really important. And so we don't have any salesperson, so the portfolio is our salesperson.
And I think I heard you say seeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like planting seeds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works in English, but the idea is that like you are seeding and something will grow.
No, I love that thought because one, I heard you say something, Ile, that I think is worth emphasizing. Is you said a portfolio is a really big asset.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting use of that word because when I hear asset, I think, oh, okay, this is what a business has that it can leverage to continue to move forward, to grow, to thrive. And yes, that I call it the right to promote, right? When a brand or a client says, no, you must sign the NDA and you cannot promote this. My first reaction is, okay, well, you must pay double now. Because if we can't promote the work, we can't build our greatest asset. Totally. And this is, of course, how we survive as creative businesses. So I love that thought. If I'm hearing you correctly, though, I would say, so most of the work is inbound.
Yeah.
Right? So if we said there's inbound work, there's outbound work, there's repeat work. I guess repeat would be probably quite a bit for you guys.
Is there, and especially with Algo, which has maybe more long-term collaboration with clients.
Right. Because I'm guessing you're maintaining and supporting some of those engagements. All right. So Illo and Algo both have this strong asset called portfolio, right? But there's also something called your brand. Meaning, how do you describe or explain to the world who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it was really important to find the right name for us because we started as Illo and Algo. That was like a mix of our name, Ilenia Notarangelo, Luca Gonnelli.
Like a playful word.
Yeah,
exactly.
They were calling us the Japanese. They were trying to understand if it was an IKEA furniture.
It's still the name of the parent company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we kept it as a history.
But like switching to Illo, that of course is connected with illustration, and also Algo that is connected with algorithm was like a nice move. And also, I mean, having a, let's say, 360 communication. So it's our portfolio, it's our presence at design conferences, it's our website, it's how we communicate on social media. So everything like is taught in a way to, let's say, for example, for Illo, transmit always the same positive vibes and attitude. So of course, like we have to be consistent and very ownable throughout all of our presence. This means also that like the emails of our producers are in a friendly tone most of the time when we
Yes, of course. In function of what you need to.
When we do, I don't know, HR survey or like we try to keep like the same brand identity throughout all of our internal and external communication.
I love that thought. The way I think of it is your positioning is not simply the statement on your About Us page.
Exactly,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Right? It shows up on a party invitation, right? It shows up in the HR review process.
Absolutely.
I see you nodding.
No, exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking about our HR review forms, which are really kind of creative and
You can give a super like to a colleague.
yeah,
Right?
just to give you an example. Yeah, we have this playful approach. And also, at some point, we were making the mistake to think that we would only need to hire people that are active on the production, so illustrator, motion designers. And when we actually started hiring also, like I'm thinking in particular for our role, which is the person that oversees all of our portfolio and our special projects, our communication. So there's a person in our team that does only that and almost nothing else. And it really changed the way we were getting perceived. We really impacted a lot on the business just by doing no work for clients, which is crazy, right?
Well, is this person a curator? Is that the word?
Well,
What's
we call
the role?
the role brand strategies because it's but it's
for
for
your
our
brand.
brand. Exactly.
So they don't work on client brands. They work on Illo and Algo brand.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, whoa. I love this idea so much. You said a word, Ilenia, a moment ago. You said ownable.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that? Because I think that's a really big word that may have just sort of whoosh.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a thinking that we can do for our brand or for our client's brand, but for us, the fact that we develop a language that is really authentic and ownable, it's so important. So, you really know from the single piece that belongs to Illo. So this is connected with our values, with our aesthetic, with our vision. So of course we try to being really thoughtful about what we put out in the world to be sure that it's related to our. I mean, brand
Something
sounds
unique,
really commercial, but
something weird, something unique that it's unique to you, and
so probably
leverage on that.
Probably you could have if it's something more Illo related, it's going to be something visually simple, colorful, approachable, and with a little touch of expression or surprise. So this is probably the mix, and this is something that really you can find throughout all our.
Why is it actually good business to have that clarity of voice?
Yeah, because I feel that we are currently in a very saturated market. So we have so many studios. When we started, it wasn't like this, but now it is. Also, there are so many trends and aesthetic core that there is so much chaos that probably our job, also our role as designers, is to being able to craft ownable languages because they are distinctive. Because of course, especially with AI and influencer marketing, everything tends to look the same, while our role is curate a visual language to make it stand out.
And that's totally also the approach on AI. So if the AI can do it well, it's probably already been done. And so, we are going to be in the business with AI growing, becoming more used. We are definitely going to be in the business of finding something that is unique and that maybe AI cannot easily do, maybe, at least for now.
Wow. I'm having so many thoughts.
And also, I think that when brands approach us is because they are seeking that same level of, let's say, positive expression. So they know that we can help them provide these vibes to their users or clients. So I think it's really important, of course, to work on yourself. And maybe sometimes it's a very hard to work on your own identity. It's the most challenging job.
Worst client is yourself,
Yeah, do you know the English idiom, the cobbler's kids have no shoes?
Exactly, we have the same.
Canzolaio con le scarpe rotte.
Exactly.
That's in Italian.
Yeah.
So it's a full job work to being present and consistent, but also we understand a lot on how also our clients can communicate in a better way, and also the importance of, it's not anymore about having one single video that stays on your website is about having a very comprehensive language that can be flexible. And also, I think that the fact of being create languages that are flexible is a big part of our job, because of course, when we work with design teams at brands and clients, they still want to design. So we don't want to create those 80 pages guidelines with all the hypotheses out there. No, we want to give maybe 5 motion principles, and then you use it because you are a designer.
But
we
actually
trust
using
you.
it, because the problem with passing work to another team is always that, of course, it risk not being used correctly, a risk not being used at all. And so it's a lot of work that's wasted. And it's incredibly, as humans, me, Ilya and I, for example, went to work actually on the thing, to working on people that will do the thing. And now it's working on people that will do the thing that other people will need to work on. So it's really complex, but that's definitely the route to go through.
I hear you saying that the work, both Illo and Algo, is increasingly less delivering one-offs, right? When we think of things like spots and commercials and that kind of stuff. And it's becoming much more of what I would call system, that we're delivering perhaps a toolkit or a system, but you've used the word language. And I'm curious, do you use that word intentionally because it's perhaps a bit different than a system or a toolkit or a package?
Yeah, I will reply on the Illo side, I will say yes, probably language is more comprehensive of it's larger than a system, because I think that in the system idea there is too much of the functionalism involved. Mm-hmm. So a system should work. While in the last couple of years we had the opportunity to work with very big clients, and it was also an amazing school for us, also for different part of the world. And we really started focusing on the difference in between function and emotion or feeling. So when we build a language, we're going to have a set of assets that are very systemic and a bunch of them that are really authorial. And they still belong to the same language. They're still consistent and ownable. But sometimes you want of course you don't want icons to be unique. You want to be understandable and functional. But then when you have to take people on board for an experience, for an app, you want to be very unique. You want to create a special, very emotional experience. Or also when something is getting wrong, you want to emphasize with the user. So we're trying to put a lot of thought and understanding the feeling of the users in this moment. So sometimes we have systemic and sometimes we have more authorial, and we try to mix the two and deliver the full language.
That's so fascinating to me. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that's a tremendous amount of wisdom that a lot of your peers are just now maybe learning. So what I heard was that a system that is elevated to have an emotional component can be a language.
Absolutely.
And then the language is a clear metaphor, because of course you use the language to speak, and that's what the client will need to do. Will need to be on their own, of course, after our collaboration with them, and they will need to be able to continue using it without getting to us for everything. And maybe expand it, and it's alive. It's something, if they stop doing something that we thought for them, that's of course a language is a part of that language is gonna die. So it's very kind of alive thing.
So let me ask this question as a perhaps conclusionary topic. And the thought is, there is obviously a lot of disruption, change, things happening in our industry. I won't name names like AI. I won't mention that.
Doomsday.
Yeah, exactly. Are you generally more optimistic or somewhat pessimistic about our industry overall?
Okay, so surely we're in complicated times. There has been a lot going on. Of course, last year was not so easy in terms of economics for the interest rates and everything else. And also, of course, we are in a kind of a perfect storm with AI, etc. And of course, I can understand a lot of people being scared, but at the same time, we are optimistic in general overall, as basically, I think that of course, we see AI as a tool. We use a lot AI inside of Algo, for example, to simplify and to make the life of the client easier. It's kind of not really one single AI that does everything or that generates the entire output. It's more rather kind of little things that help here and there do specific tasks. And yeah, overall, we feel that there's never been an exciting time as this, especially in terms of how much competition finally After Effects has. So there's a lot of new software. There's like new Cavalry, tools. There's Rive, there's many interesting things, and we are all like studying them and trying to learn and how to use them into actual productions. Because of course, the tools somehow change the craft and change the output. And so, for example, that is pretty clear with Cavalry and how a new wave of more generative type of designs are coming out of a new animation tool, which lets you do very easily something that in After Effects was not possible. So it's very challenging, but at the same time, very interesting. And so, I feel optimistic in general.
Well, shout out to Adam Jens and his team who's behind Cavalry. Yeah. Because I saw them in London a few weeks ago.
Oh,
and
nice.
They're doing really well. So if you're not familiar with that tool, you should check it out. Yeah, what's your take, Ile?
So, little disclaimer, Luca is the optimistic partner. So,
okay. We hear
for
you.
For Luca, everything is good now.
Okay. So Luca, you and my head are in the clouds. And Ile, your feet are on the ground. So bring us back to earth.
Yeah, it's more like I always I'm worried about next year, maybe in general, while Luca is more, okay, the present is good. And while Luca, we should think. So, but this is just a good balance to have two partners with different visions. So jokes aside, I feel that in general, we can have a relatively good amount of optimism. Of course, we have so many variables at this moment, and I think that we still should understand how AI will be present in our work. So far, I mean, it's not so big, but we should understand how the communication will use AI and if this will change a lot. Also, maybe sometimes I'm scared and fascinated at the same time by social media algorithm. Because of course, your Instagram bubble can affect a lot of your political views, but maybe your aesthetic or maybe the product you get in touch with. So yeah.
And then there's performance marketing. You were talking with Justin about that, and it's totally problematic. And
just not taking the bold choices, but just measuring everything and
Yes.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we love data at Algo, but performance marketing, it's really dragging down creativity. And actually Algo is a tentative answer to that, to try to give clients the ability to create all the assets they need, but at the same time keeping the creative in the driver's seat and working at the beginning to create the whole system. And then outside of that, there's also influencer marketing. I mean, the communication budget of a big company is going to be one, and it's going to be split into these things. And so maybe something that goes into influencer marketing doesn't go into our sector.
On the other hand, I'm happy that maybe motion design is shifting more toward product and branding. And I think that it's very rewarding from a designer perspective because you are really building something. And it's not just a campaign that is staying out there for 2 weeks. And I think that my bigger fear is algorithm-driven economy, let's say. Not Algo, of course, but just that. Everything is not it's chosen not by humans, or it's not organically driven by your connection, but it's just about what you stirred and what you are gonna see the next day, or maybe what you pronounce and they listen to us. I didn't want to sound complotist, but it's true. Yeah, but so it's really important for us to, I think, to go out of our bubbles from time to time, to connect with different bubbles, and not always rely on metrics, but taking just more random choices. I have there is something that came up as a joke at Illo, and it's called snapping to randomness. So a colleague was like mocking me and our design director, Arianna, saying that we were like snapping to nothing. We are not snapping to the grid. We were snapping to randomness. And we said, oh my God, this is the perfect definition of Illo. We are literally like snapping to randomness. So like we like to have, of course, like a frame of functionalism, but inside we want to snap, like to find the randomness and the expression and the serendipity that make our life more human.
What a beautiful thought. I was having the thought of, this is yet another reason we must do aperitivo. We must get outside of the studio and away from our devices and our monitors.
Yeah.
Right? Get out into the world and collide with others. Again, one of the reasons I love New York City, right? Is the collisions of all the people and the close quarters. It forces these kinds of random interactions that are not determined by any freaking algorithm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right? I'm not in a bubble that is determined by Instagram or anything else.
It's difficult. It's not easy sometimes. And it's especially with tech culture and with tech startups, it's very rooted into their culture, this aspect of A/B testing everything and measuring everything. And if it's measured, but like we see that when, as communicators, we see that when, I don't know, you bring out a new, I will take the Airbnb rebrand from a few years ago as an example. When it came out, everyone was like, oh my God, this is shit. This is just looking like the ugliest thing, or like a pair of balls, or the comments were really ugly on that. And now, a few years later, you see that it was an amazing rebranding and it worked like magic, and it was really, so it's, if you ask people and if you measure what people think in the short term, it's probably not going to be a very meaningful answer. And so, relying a bit less on data, on A/B test and on performance and KPIs, and instead relying a bit more on your intuition, it's something that I think we need to relearn, and definitely, try to teach clients, even though it's not always easy.
So are you overall excited about the future, excited about the year ahead and where Illo and Algo are going?
I think that it's like a pretty nice moment for us. And also, I mean, we are really focusing more on building languages. That is something that I really love. So because it's something more complex and you get to be almost on the same team with the design client team. So I think it's a very nice opportunity. And so in general, I think that, I think we are very lucky, and coming back to my optimism here, I think we are very lucky that motion design today is grown into a stage where it's very much different than what it was before, that get into the product much more, that goes into branding much more, that goes into different areas. And also that these areas normally are more, especially thinking of branding, for example, it's more long-term. It's something very core to a company, but at the same time, it's not something that you rush like you would do a 60-second commercial. So it's something that gives us more time to work on things more calmly in our own Italian way. And at the same time, build upon that, where instead maybe a few years ago, it was not possible in such way. Yeah, and another aspect of optimism from my perspective is that probably we're getting rid of all the 10 top trends of 2025, where like everyone is doing, I don't know, skeuomorphic, metric, or cell animation. So I think that maybe in the past years, this was more, okay, it's 2015, we're all doing this stuff. It was a bit boring, especially like when you have a studio with a design identity. I think that right now, almost every kind of style is accepted. So we're more inclusive, and also it's very nice for brands because they can choose different styles, and like it's not maybe just fintech companies are just like, there is the ear of 3D, or there is the ear of little sketchy characters. But beyond that, I feel that everyone can try to have their own language, and this is really beautiful. And I feel also that from a studio perspective, maybe there is space for every voice, every vision. Maybe you will have some of them that will be more successful one year and less the year after. But in general, I think that there is like the good thing is there is like space for everyone. It is not about, I started like doing, I don't know, character design, and after 3 years it's not trendy anymore, and so I have to close.
Right. Well, I'm going to say thank you.
Thank you.
And how much I appreciate this conversation, and what a absolute treat to do this in person here in New York.
Good.
Thank you so much. Because, we tried and we tried and we tried, and then the planets suddenly aligned.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
here we are. So thank you for visiting us from Turin. I can't wait to come visit you guys again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Soon. And I encourage anyone listening to follow so much of the advice that you've given here, including get outside your bubble. Right?
Yeah.
Get out there. I mean, you guys are here. I was there. And I believe me, these experiences are very meaningful to us, and I think important for our industry. So thank you, Luca. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Joel.
Thanks for listening to The Fabulist. And thanks to my collaborators at Coop Studios. If you run a studio and desire to master the art of business, apply to join Forum, my private network of the world's leading studios. For details, just go to joelpilger.com.